I became alpha as a solo player on this unofficial cluster in less than a week, and if I had to do it again in the next wipe, I would do just that. Hello Dodo crew and welcome back to another video on ARK Survival Ascended. Grab a bottle of water and let's get straight into it. On a side note before I start, as of I'm editing this, I'm at about 2k subs. If you could sub to help me reaching my goal of 20k subs by the end of the year, I would greatly appreciate it. For God's sake, get into a red hole, find a hole and hide inside. If enemies cannot find you, they cannot raid you. We all love mega base videos and we all love having the largest base on this server. Mega bases are perfect for securing huge amounts of creatures, resources and loot. And every goddamn attacker is happy if you have a huge base as a small tribe. Because the bigger your base is, the more likely you are to have errors in your defense. And if you're honest to yourself, you haven't checked your turrets for days to see if someone has secretly soaked you while you were sleeping. Especially crouch or overhead red holes are a pain to raid, and 2 to 3 turrets make it impossible to get inside. In every wipe, I see loads of players putting a huge metal cube somewhere only to be wiped off the map 2 days later. Well, there is actually a science behind spamming around your base, and it all comes down to cost. Once your base has been spotted, spamming is the easiest way to keep enemies as far away from your loot as possible. No one will willingly attack your base if they have to clear foundations with C4 or an Attor for over 10 hours first. Under no circumstances should you let other players get close enough to your base to scout it. The further you get your opponents away from your base, the longer you have time to fight off enemies. Spam not only protects your loot, as long as you build spam around your base, your opponents always have to clear your spam first before they can push you further. Every wipe, I see a ton of people running around just with a good sniper rifle or a shotgun and using minimalist gear because they are afraid of dying and leaving their good stuff for the enemies. But there are actually very cheap things you can craft to ensure your chance of survival in PvP. Grappling hooks, ballers, parachutes and med brews are just some of them. But if you want to improve, even a primitive flamethrower can make all the difference, as only a 1-second flame can deal damage while you keep firing at your opponents. Always take flippers with you, they're cheap, light and improve your chance of survival in both PvE and PvP situations if you fall into the water. Shooting isn't the only part of PvP. At some point you will get picked, dropped, or you just have to retreat and regroup. Taking these items with you will give you a better chance of survival. Way too many times, me and my tribe win raids because our opponents are unprepared and have to start crafting new kits after only 2 or 3 deaths during the raid. Far too often, I'm through a wall only to see that my opponent is standing at the smithy and has to craft new flak kits. New players always slack on having kits. Yes, taming and building your base is important, but eventually someone will attack you, and if you do not have anything to defend yourself with, you will just be sitting inside, waiting for your turrets to get soaked. Always spend time farming blueprints and start crafting kits. During a raid, your vaults should be filled with as many strong kits as possible. Have different weapons in store, and yes, even your shoulder mounts like pyromanes count as equipment. Pteranodons, pyromanes and snow owls are easy to tame and raise, making them expendable. Whether you need a pteranodon to C-spin your way into a wall during a raid or to pick up enemies in foot PvP, PTs are always good to have. Many players go out without parachutes or grappling hooks, so picking up an enemy and taking them to your turrets or dropping them to the ground can sometimes land you some easy kits. Pyromanes are by far the best for PvP, and having a pyromane with you during combat is almost like having a managarm. You can be the biggest PvP noob. As long as you stay mounted on these creatures, you just can't get killed. We've all been surprised by a random guy with an RGPT or Wyvern while farming. It's a shame to lose a good Anki that way. With a homing missile, you can take out a player easily. Just shoot and forget. Pack your stuff and leave the situation. One homing missile can one-shot a player with any flyer if they do not have a good flak. Just make sure you keep some distance. In ARK Survival Ascended, especially when playing on servers where you cannot level movement speed, the meta for leveling changes completely. Without the possibility to spend points into movement speed, you have many more levels available to invest in stats like weight. If you have seen a few of my videos, you'll know that being prepared for PvP means carrying a good amount of gear with you. Don't cheap out on weight, while stats like health and fortitude are essential. What really sucks is dying because you looted your opponent's kit and became encumbered. The single most underrated piece of equipment you can carry around with you is a shield. The stronger, the better. Too often, players get killed in foot PvP because they just get bullied and cannot defend themselves. I know they are heavy, but having a strong and durable shield can save you in most encounters. You cheater! Why haven't you died? That's what I had to read a few days ago after I was dropped to the ground by a PT. In fact, I really should have died. The maximum fall damage you get is at about 440 damage at a time, and I didn't have a parachute with me. Well, it's a bit risky, but better than guaranteed death. If you get picked and don't have a parachute with you, you can just log out. The moment you leave this server, every flyer drops you and you glide to the ground like a feather. The obvious problem is that you're locked out, so log straight back in and run away as long as you can. I already told you, this is my base, and when I build it, I mentally rate myself over and over again. In my head, I'm asking the same questions over and over again. Where do I need to place spam so that enemies cannot simply build a FOB? Can I manipulate them by preparing areas in such a way that they build in a specific location? If they do, can I prepare some dinos and gear behind them to turn the tables and attack? Where are the weak spots of my base? Every base has weak spots. Can I build in a way that forces my enemies to attack a certain part of my base? And how can I defend against that? What strategy would I use? Would I soak or run the base? Would I raid it online or offline? And so on. What I mean is that if you try to attack me, I have already played out every scenario in my head and raided my base in the same way over and over again. So that you cannot raid me in a way I didn't already play through in my head. When it comes to raiding, no one has raided my base as many times as I have. When it comes to building, I'm my biggest enemy, and you should be yours. I hope you liked this video, and I'm thrilled to read if this video has helped you. Hit the like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and consider subbing to the channel. Alright, Frodo.